Welcome back to Website Critique with Bryan and Chris. I'm Bryan.
Chris?
That's Chris. And today we're going over Mike's website. We already talked about the homepage, kind of talking about some of proximity and alignment and sort of grouping elements together, things like that. Where we want to go now, I think, is start to get into some of interacting with this website.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got some buttons on here and he's got some links and some things. And the homepage is very interactive, which I think in theory is actually a really great thing. Like to
Yeah.
sort of, it's a great way to hide content and then reveal it as people want to see it, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to
yeah.
having everything on here, you could actually kind of put it behind some interactive elements and start to pull it in as people are.
It's
are
a lot
working,
less
right?
overwhelming,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Having that kind of reveal, especially if you can get people to actually engage with that.
Yeah.
So if you can actually get people to be clicking these buttons, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you want. They're engaging with your website.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. So, so let's just start in the first one. So, like, we're on this Meet Mike section. That's great. I mean, from a sales perspective, from a story brand perspective, he gets right into him. He hasn't started talking about the visitor yet. I might just suggest to Mike that we start to talk a little bit more to the person that's there, almost like greet them, talk to them, even just start to incorporate the word you more than you incorporate the word I. Because really, as I start reading this content, the first time I see the word you is right down here. And then it kind of quickly gets back into I down here. So just try to incorporate more as if you're talking to the person that's there as opposed to talking just about you, just as a small sort of tweak. But so as I'm here, I'm on Meet Mike. I click read more. Let's talk before we click the button. What are you expecting is going to happen when I click that button?
Well, you go to the About page.
It's going to go to the About page,
Right.
right?
I think
Okay.
that would be pretty fair. Yep.
So I click read more, and it changes the content here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is really neat. It's interactive, right?
Yeah,
It's
it is
doing
neat.
that, but for me it wasn't clear what was going to happen. And if you have uncertainty on your website, just from a design, from a UX perspective, that's typically not a great thing to have, right? You
Yeah.
want to be super clear on when they do this is what's going to happen, and that wasn't clear with that button.
Yeah. And I find that, yes, he gives them the ability to go back. There's a button way over here, but I mean, be curious, maybe leave it in the comments or whatever, but did anybody else notice that button? Like I would
Right.
actually argue that most people probably aren't seeing that button,
Right.
right? So
Well, and also by having that like go back thing, that also implies that previously you went forward, but that button never indicated anything
That you were
of,
gonna
like,
go forward.
Go. It's almost
Yeah.
like it's like when you have a gallery, right, and you're swiping left and right. You understand that you're on the left one, and then when you click right, you're going right, and then you click left to go back to that one. That wasn't implied with this because it was just a buttons. Maybe even if it was like, read more, there was a big giant button over here or something that kind of let you slide over to the side.
yeah,
It might
had
be
a
bit
little
more
arrow
clear.
on the side of that read
Yeah,
more. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Same with
even
next
having
chapter.
this, right? Like kind of doing it that way. So now, yeah, again, same thing, right? Next chapter, you're still technically going right in the journey, but it's not super clear that that's what's happening.
Yeah. I
So-
love that GIF, by the way. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Or
and
GIF,
then-
GIF,
sorry,
whatever
GIF,
you want to call it.
And I just realized again, it now took me away, which wasn't clear.
Yeah, where
right?
did you
So,
go?
Yeah, I clicked the button a couple more times. Right?
Oh.
So I clicked this. I went read more. I went next chapter.
And then tell me about it.
There, and that took me away.
Interesting. So tell me about it brings it to
Yeah.
a contact form. So it's probably, if you're reading the story, it probably makes sense that it's like,
Right.
let me know what you want to work with or something like that. And then you click tell me about
Right.
it brings you to contact form so you can tell them about it. But it doesn't feel super.
I would almost just challenge and say, why wouldn't you just put this back there, like
That
on
form
on
there,
next-
yeah,
I mean,
tell me
you've
about it,
already-
and then boom.
You've gotten them used to now that whole
Yeah.
like swiping sort of functionality.
Yeah.
Just keep it there.
There's a lot to fill out on this form.
There's a lot
too.
to fill out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that he kind of is incorporating some sort of cheekiness in here, like. What's your preferred method of communication? Interpretive dance? Like I would fill that out, no question. But I kind of like that he built some humor in there. I
Yeah.
think
No,
really
that's
nice.
really cool. Yep.
Which
like
is
that.
interesting because your comment on the first video was that the site kind of felt like an accountant. It felt very corporate.
Very corporate.
Yet he incorporates some really fun humor.
Yeah.
And so I love that he incorporates humor. There's some personality there, but I almost feel like in a way the brand's not representing that.
Definitely not at the top. Like
Yeah.
even if you come down the site, like you have really soft buttons and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Tell me about it using that nice beigey kind of earth tone, grayish color. Like I don't know what I just said, but it's so much softer, right? You're using soft, big,
Yeah.
beautiful typography in the background. It just doesn't, and then you have that personal touch. It just doesn't match, right? And
Agreed.
I would definitely challenge Mike to kind of rethink about his header to actually make it a lot friendlier looking, like his brand's trying to be, right?
Well, I mean, even thinking, is there any of that blue repeated. Like he's got
At the
this
very
big,
bottom.
yeah, at the very bottom.
Yeah,
But it's almost like the other brand colors are very soft and beige
Very
and
much.
earth tones, right?
Yeah.
So just something to think about. Even the background here, you know, soft beige or earth tones. So okay, so that's kind of some comment. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, these sections are kind of working the same. I mean, honestly, these sections look beautiful. I think
So
I
cool
think he
looking.
did a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you've got that whole proximity thing. Like, why is this?
So close.
It seems too close.
Yeah, give some space.
I love
People
that
will
he
scroll.
kind of built this revealed content style. These look beautiful. I think these are really designed well. I would just want to outline or make it more clear that when I click this, that's what's happening, just to kind of create that familiarity, right?
Yeah, again, have that arrow there. Maybe have that animate when you
Yeah.
hover over it, that a little arrow comes out the side. Maybe keeping those right to left arrows there all the time, because I don't believe on the first step it's even there. Yeah, there's no left to right
Right.
on the first step. So making those sections like maybe more obvious that they are swipeable sections. Why not, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
If we go down here to services again, proximity. Let's give some more spacing here. This is neat. I like that he's sort of created some interactive elements here. This is changing the photo. It's changing the story up there. Again, it wasn't actually necessarily clear. Let me just try refreshing the page and see how did it start again, just to remind myself.
Select your fable below.
It's not bad. Okay. What are
Interesting.
your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'd be curious to see if people would read that whole caption about services and like what it is before they click on it, because it's
Right.
almost like it's so inviting to just click on those buttons to see what would happen. And
Right.
once you do, it's kind of it's less obvious as to what you're looking at.
Right.
You know, oh, headshots. Okay, well, I don't need that. And so it's just it's interesting to see like, are people engaging in it? If they are they actually getting the full story when they engage with
Right.
it? Are they reading the first part and stuff? So maybe kind of a more of a challenge on having it look different, having that first step look different. Let's refresh again. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think the other thing too is like you're introducing this whole new concept, like select your fable, and then you've got this where it's like, you know, the novel. I'm not really sure.
Well, it says-
it feels like you're introducing new terminology or new ways of talking about photography, which again, like I think is neat, but it's very poetic, and you're not tying it in anywhere else. So it just feels, for me, it feels a little out of place because you're not using that those words anywhere else. You're not using
Yep.
that analogy anywhere else, right? So that would just be my thought. And again, so this is where, like from a consistency standpoint, so far, all the buttons have always done this whole scroll thing. From previous experience, I know that clicking this is taking me away, which feels again inconsistent. Like it's bouncing me around, and I think this kind of now maybe comes to where we started earlier is the nav up here at the top. Some of these buttons just scroll me down to that section. If I click this, it scrolls me down to that section. Some of them take me away.
Yeah.
So there feels to be a lot of inconsistency. Some of these buttons keep me here. Some of them change content. Some of them slide content. Some of them take me away. There's a lot going on, and it just feels like there's a bit of inconsistency.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And breeding that familiarity, like really teaching people how your interface works is really important, which means that you have to be consistent, right? So having like buttons that look like this are always going to do the same kind of thing. And then also like don't be afraid. Like for example, we keep saying, you know, like if my toolbox is going to slide this right, like put a right arrow on that, right? Right on that text. Same thing. If this is going to go somewhere else, you could have that little icon that says it's opening up a new page, or just, you know, maybe those drop downs that actually move it along the page always have an arrow on it, and this one doesn't. So just some interesting things to think about. I'm not 100% sure what the solution is right yet. You'd almost have to really kind of sit back and think about it, but yeah,
Awesome.
that's a challenge. And as a CTA here, this Let's Chat, I'm assuming this is the primary. If you see the text is a little bit bigger, I'd almost say make that even bigger, right? And again, add some spacing at the top and the bottom, and it would work out a lot better. Really quickly, what do you think of the footer?
The background needs like a bit like a color to it to make the text blends in. The photo's too clear for me. I would want to blur it or have an overlay or something. What do you think?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, you can't really read it, and these are links, and they don't necessarily look like links either.
Right.
So just some quick thoughts.
Good call. Great. Come join us in the next video of this series where we're going to dive more into Mike's website.